What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Bulls Latest. Your host, Matt Johnson here. Going to kick off today's show and this week, recapping the Bulls' 0-2 weekend. It was a couple of tough contests on the road. Was to be expected. The Bulls were going to be challenged over the weekend. They dropped both contests ultimately, the first of which losing to the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA Cup group play. The second of which games, the Bulls lost 126-110 at Fiserv Forum Friday night. And then they lost a hard-fought battle on Saturday night in the second of a back-to-back, the first back-to-back of the season at Cleveland, 128-122, dropping the Bulls to 6-3 on the year. One piece of good news over the weekend for the Bulls really was that Ayo Dosunmu returned to action. He was capped at 24 minutes in both contests. I think this was, the restriction was in large part to allow Ayo to play both games of the first back-to-back of the season. Maybe the last time he'll be on that this year. So that's good news to have Ayo back in the fold. He's very important to what the Bulls do, obviously. Another element that stood out to me over the weekend when you look at both of these games was really in kind of looking at a really important player to get going, but how active Matas Buzelis was on the boards. It showed Friday in Milwaukee, where Matas began the Bucks game with 4 rebounds in the first 6 minutes. So it's clear that they're emphasizing him to get active on the boards. That showed. Matas would ultimately finish the Milwaukee game with 20 points and 8 rebounds. Looking at the rest of the stat sheet in that one, Josh Giddey had a double-double, 16 points, 14 rebounds, 16 points, 14 assists, and 7 rebounds for Josh Giddey there. In Ayo's return, he had 7 points, 3 assists, 2 steals. When you look at Milwaukee on this side of things, he continues to torch the Bulls. But Giannis with another monster game for Milwaukee against Chicago. 41 points, 15 rebounds, 9 assists there. That was a heck of a game by him. He leads the way for Milwaukee almost night in, night out. Continues to be a tough matchup for really anybody in this league. So that was the tough contest in the first one over the weekend. Diving into now the second of the back-to-back, the thing that really jumped out to me was, again, Isaac Okoro getting into early foul trouble. He had 2 first-quarter fouls. It's tough because you want to get a guy like Okoro going. You brought him in to be a major piece of the starting rotation. When you get into early foul trouble consistently like he has, it doesn't allow you to get the longevity that you really need from him throughout a basketball game. So, looking at this week, I really would like to see Okoro, and the hope is to see him, stay out of foul trouble early on. I can only imagine that's going to be an emphasis by the coaching staff moving through this week of games. So, not only foul trouble being an issue, turnovers were also a major issue against Cleveland. The Bulls had 6 turnovers in the first 4 minutes of the game, 7 total in the first quarter. Never want to start the first quarter with 7 turnovers in a ballgame that's putting you behind the 8 ball, no matter how well you're playing. That just makes it a lot more difficult from the jump, especially for a team who doesn't have, all world talent in the Chicago Bulls. You cannot afford to turn the ball over. It only helps your case if you play efficient basketball, take care of the basketball, and really stay out of foul trouble. The two go hand in hand there. So looking at the second half of this game, was a monster second half start for Cleveland. They started that second half on a 12-0 run. The Bulls, looking at them overall in this game, they had 7 players in double figures again, and this time 4 reserves in double figures. Jalen Smith with another double-double. Jalen Smith continues to impress me. He continues to be a monster for this Bulls team and providing depth for them. Looking at the way the game closed, it was a tough end of the game for the Bulls. Cleveland closed the game on a 12-0 run as well. Donovan Mitchell had 29 points. He had scored 8 straight points to finish off the game, I believe. So Donovan Mitchell coming up big in the clutch for this Cleveland team, something he's done so many times. The Bulls, looking at their numbers, they shot 33 of 36 from the line and 13 of 29 from 3. And they had 7 players in double figures, 58 bench points in the loss. They're now 4-1 in clutch games. They had been undefeated in clutch games up to this point, dropping their first one there against Cleveland. one of the creams of the crop of the Eastern Conference. Like I told you guys in the beginning of the season, I expect Cleveland to make a push to win the Eastern Conference altogether. I think Orlando is also still going to be there in the end. So we'll look at, looking to build off of this weekend in terms of kind of taking your lumps. There was two tough road games, as to be expected. The Bulls played hard in both. I really like the way, honestly, they bounced back in terms of playing a competitive contest in Cleveland. In the second of a back-to-back, that's not an easy thing to do. First of the year, and honestly, seeing that fourth quarter run by Cleveland, it could have been the Bulls' legs kind of, running out of gas towards the end of that contest. Who knows? But they were in that game for a long time. So, and ultimately, really till the end, even though they gave up that 12-0 run to end the contest. One piece of, eerie news that we're going to want to keep an eye on. Josh Giddey rolled his ankle on a nasty crossover by DeAndre Hunter, in that Cleveland game. Giddey rolled it pretty good. He actually left the game and went to the locker room. He later would return. That's the good news to the bench. He eventually would return to the game as well. So obviously he was able to gut it out, wanted to push back to get into the ball game. It was still a close game, so it made sense for him to try and push back, I guess, and get back into that contest. Definitely something to watch prior to Monday night's game at the United Center against the Spurs if he is going to go. Giddey did speak post-game in regards to his ankle in specific, said his ankle feels okay, and he did respond when asked if he could give the same physicality after rolling it. Giddey said, "I tried to do my best out there with what I could." Said he wouldn't have played if he didn't think he could contribute to trying to win. So shows you what he thinks of this ball club and really the mentality of this group overall, which is exciting. Rolling that ankle and wanting to come back into the game. It looked like a pretty bad rolled ankle, so we'll keep an eye on that. Josh Giddey is officially questionable with that right ankle sprain against the Spurs. Another piece of injury news, just to keep an eye on. Pat Williams sprained his finger. He's probable. I don't think that sprained finger is going to keep him out of the lineup more than likely, but something to watch there as well. With Josh Giddey, though, you want him in the lineup. Obviously, he's been huge for the Bulls' success, so would hate to see him miss time. Obviously, Ayo just missed a few games, so want to work to keep this Bulls team as healthy as possible. Looking and previewing this Spurs game, the Bulls 6-3, obviously coming off that tough weekend, will have their hands full. This Spurs team, starting off the year at 7-2, is coming off two straight wins. They beat the Rockets at home Friday night, 121-110, in NBA Cup action, and then they came out on top at home against a lowly New Orleans Pelicans squad, 126-119. Looking at Victor Wembanyama, this guy has been on a tear to start the year. He's had an MVP caliber start to the season. Looks like a video game character out there. He really has been ridiculous. So honestly excited to see him up close. Playing the Chicago Bulls. Not excited to see the matchup that he provides and the nightmare of a matchup he provides for the Chicago Bulls, though. He's certainly going to be a problem for Chicago. Starting the year averaging 24.2 points a game and 12.9 rebounds through the first 9 games. Stephen Castle has also been a major contributor for the Spurs ball club early on in their success. So those are two guys to watch there. The Bulls, look to continue their hot start at home, 5-0 at the United Center to start the year. Looking at this series, I thought an interesting nugget of late was the Bulls have won their last 6 head-to-head meetings against the Spurs. So have been hot against San Antonio. I know that doesn't really correlate to this year's ball club. But again, something major to watch here, is Josh Giddey. If he's limited or out, this hurts the Bulls' playmaking and pace. And that will definitely be detrimental to Chicago's chances of winning this ball game, I think. And when you look at Wemby, he gives the Spurs a big edge inside, obviously. The Bulls kind of undersized as it is. So Wemby is going to provide issues down low against this Bulls team. The Bulls will definitely need to defend the glass to avoid giving up too many second chance opportunities if they want a chance to win this ball game, and that's going to come by keeping the Spurs off the glass, particularly the offensive glass. So we'll see what happens on Monday night there. Kind of looking at the betting angle in this one. The Spurs come into this one. The line currently sits at 3.5. They're a 3.5-point favorite. The total sitting at 235.5. I expect this line to move pretty drastically if Josh Giddey is out one way or the other. If he's in, look for that line to stay where it is. If Giddey is out, I anticipate this thing jumping to maybe 5.5 points, maybe 6 points. So we'll see what happens. If Giddey does play, if you guys want an angle on this one, I do like the Bulls to win this one outright if Giddey is able to go. Even if you're able to get good value on Chicago at plus 3.5, I would definitely take that. The Bulls are plus 140 on the money line. Great value with Josh in. I think if Giddey's out, you look at the Spurs as pretty much a home run in this one with how hot they've been. Being the healthier ball club, if Giddey is unable to go, the Spurs covering the 3.5 points should not be a problem. They haven't played since Saturday, just like Chicago, so they got that off day Sunday, that travel day for them. Looking at the week as a whole, though, the Bulls will host the Spurs Monday night. They will travel to Detroit Wednesday night for their second contest of this young season against the Pistons there, and then they will cap off the week with a third game at Sunday night road tilt in Utah. That'll certainly be a fun one there. Hopefully the Bulls can have a strong week, kind of regrouping from a tough weekend that was there. I anticipate the Bulls will come out firing on Monday night. Hopefully they will have Josh Giddey in the fold. Let me know what you guys think about his injury. Do you think it looked pretty major? That crossover was pretty nasty. It definitely was on SportsCenter there as one of the top plays. So, he did kind of get posterized in a sense, so it was tough to watch that. But, tough weekend for the Bulls. It's a long season. You're going to take your lumps. Lots of ups and downs still to come. A lot of basketball to be played, but 6-3 entering a new week. Looking for some good basketball on the horizon here. So, anyway, thank you guys for joining me to start the week on another episode of Bulls Latest. Really appreciate your guys following and support for this show. Give me a prediction for the Bulls-Spurs game. Do you think the Bulls will win this game to start the week? Do you anticipate the Bulls having a good week? What's your week projections? I think the Bulls have a good shot to go at least 2-1 this week. A tough game at Detroit, kind of on the slate, but and really San Antonio has been rolling too. But hopefully the goal here to go 2-1 on the week and to keep stacking wins and building on this young season. So thanks again, guys, for joining me, and we will see you all next time.